tell you what it's like. Come alive in the night. Yeah, somebody give me the mic. Woo! I'ma tell you what it's like. Come alive in the night.
Hey, hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Peace Talks. This is a series where we catch up with the artists and bands that are coming to play for us at the Marr Bar in Worcester. And today I'm joined by Tom Ford. Tom's actually was one of the first artists to ever play for us when we got started at the Marr Bar. We hadn't got this series going at that time. It started a little bit later, so I'm really delighted today to have some time to chat with Tom. Thanks, Tom, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Tom was, we were just chatting, Tom was the third gig that we had on at the Marr Bar, and he actually came back after the summer break back in 2022, so it's almost 3 years to the date. It was on 29th of September. In 22, and Tom will be returning on the Thursday the 25th of September for our replay series, the second show in that series, where we'll be reintroducing some of the bands that started played with us right at the beginning when we only had a dozen or so people in the audience, which has certainly changed over the last few years. So yeah, again, thanks, Tom, for your time today. Quite well known in the West Midlands. You're actually from, are you from Birmingham originally?
Yeah, originally from Birmingham.
Certainly seen you around. In fact, it was at the mostly Jazz Funk and Soul Festival in 2022 that I sort of stopped things started and thought, oh shit, I need to find some artists. Get on the program. So picked you up there. But yeah, you've obviously been involved in lots of other projects. I've seen you with playing with different bands and such since. So we'll dig into some of that. But let's start with your kind of introduction into music and kind of how you got into it from an early age. Let's look at that to start with.
I mean, it's I have I guess I'm fortunate in the sense that my dad plays music, but he's a guitarist as well. He's not a jazz musician, but he never directly got me into playing. But having him around, I'd see him at the weekends, and like he'd often be gigging, especially during the summer. So I'd just be like hanging around, like as a small kid, I'd just be hanging around. Loads of musicians and be at shows and stuff. And I initially was way more interested in football. There's a lot of young boys in Britain are. I'd started playing piano to start with. I must have been about 5 or something. I was quite young. And then when I was 6 or 7, I switched to guitar just because I'd heard Oasis. I got like,
okay.
Like that whole thing had happened, and a friend of my mum's taught me some stuff on an acoustic guitar, and then I showed my dad, and then he was just like, "Oh, like you're playing guitar now," and said yeah, and he kind of gave me one of his guitars to learn on, and so it kind of, but he was very reluctant to teach me anything. He really wanted to avoid, because he was like a self-taught guy, and he played in pub rock bands, and he in the 80s he played, like, there's a well-known guy called Trevor Burton in the Birmingham music scene, and also Steve Gibbons, and there's all these like old legends of like the rock scene, and my dad played with all those guys. And being a self-taught person, he has his way of playing, and he just really didn't want me to end up as a copy or like a clone. So he kind of like would give me little pointers, but I learned more from asking other people, and I just used to buy records and try and figure out what was going on. That was, I'm pre-internet days, this is pre-YouTube. So it was more of a case of, yeah, just trying to learn off records. And I had a leg injury when I was about 8, so I couldn't play football anymore for like 6 months.
Hmm.
And it was like music focus, you know.
Ah,
So that's kind of what I mean, it's just all random chance really. Um, so yeah, that was the initial thing. And then I just got really into it and was playing at every opportunity I physically could. As soon as I got to secondary school, I like convinced the teachers to let me put a band together and play at the start and end of every assembly every week. This is like a opportunity to play it, to perform,
yeah,
this kind of ragtag band of to start off with. It was just piano, drums, and guitar because there's no bass players,
right.
and eventually like bullied a guy that was learning guitar into switching onto bass. And now, yeah, so throughout school, I had that band. We played a lot. We used to play all sorts of music. I'd got into like Weather Report at some point in maybe year
Fantastic.
9. And I wanted to play that stuff, and none of us could really play it. It's just
Mm.
like, um, and yeah, and then my dad started letting me play with his actual bands. Like every now and then, he'd let me get up and do a whole gig. And then when he realized that I could play well enough, he basically started depping me gigs he didn't want to do. So, but I was like 14 or so, it was for me it was
Brilliant.
great because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd play at these like social clubs, these kind of like old working men's clubs and pubs around Birmingham and get 50 quid and
Yeah.
like I thought it was amazing. So and yeah, and I always had original band, I had my band at school and then in fifth year I started a new band. And we actually did some actual gigs, some
Hmm.
real gigs. There's a venue in Cotteridge called the Roadhouse, still there. It's like a biker bar.
Okay.
Um, it's like a well-known blues rock venue in Birmingham. And like we did a gig, we played one of our first gigs there to actual real people, like to like a real audience and
Come
stuff.
to see you play.
Yeah. And then I went sixth form and studied music and started a new band, and that band played for like all the way until I went to Berklee, and we did loads, and it was like a kind of funk, hip hop, bit of rock,
Yeah.
kind of, I'd say at the time jazz, but looking back, like probably not really. I thought what I thought was like a jazz influence was there at the
Right.
time. The 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 passion was there, but the
Hmm.
reality was not quite there yet. And yeah, so I was playing loads of gigs in like older bands, like around Birmingham, kind of your pub bands, that whole circuit, playing with these bands that my dad had played with that he
Yeah.
was no longer playing with, and so yeah, and then trying to convince anyone I could to learn like these Pat Metheny songs or Mike Stern songs, and I used to
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah.
book rehearsal rooms and like force my friends that were all just in rock bands to like I tried to find like the best
Mhm.
drummer and the best bass player and be like, we need to like learn this tune, and none of us really knew what we were doing. It was all kind of haphazard.
The will was there. That's the
Yeah,
important thing,
absolutely. Um, yeah, and then I went to Berklee and actually learned how to play jazz and came back and integrated myself in the UK jazz scene quite quickly and just kind of, got to where I'm at
yeah.
now.
I'm interested because you mentioned you kind of felt that it was a jazz influence, but it wasn't. Was
Yeah.
that the education at Berkeley that kind of solidified that idea in your head that your understanding of jazz? Or was it had you developed quite an understanding of jazz beforehand? Was it a case?
So leading up to um when I got to sixth form, one of the tutors there had studied guitar at Birmingham Conservatoire, and on like the first day, I would have been 16, so like the first lesson I had with him in the first week, first one-to-one lesson, I wanted to know how I'd play over the chords in Teen Town that Jaco
Oh, yeah,
Pastorius.
yeah, yeah.
Because I'd learned the tune,
Mm.
at that point I'd been learning loads of stuff. I'd been, transcribing things and learning melodies, and I knew what the chords were, but it's this really weird, like the chords they're four dominant chords, like a minor third apart.
Hmm.
Um, and that's a weird thing. And at that point, like I knew scales that worked on like one tonality,
Right.
but as soon as there was like moving tonalities
Hmm.
quickly, I didn't know at that point that like you played over the chords. In my head, I was like, there must be a scale that fits this,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
because and I think a lot of guitarists have that kind of thing because we all learn our blues and our pentatonics, and
Hmm.
we've got this one scale fits all mentality. So the first lesson I asked the guy, like, I want to play on these chords, I don't know what to do. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. Like we can. So he started teaching me then, and then I had lessons with him up until I went to Berklee when I was 19. So I had like 3 years of essentially weekly lessons with him, and I learned to play on changes in that time.
Yeah.
I did a lot of transcription. I learned like triads and all this fundamental stuff I did have together before I went to Berklee. I think that when I say that what I was doing wasn't really jazz with my own band, it's that like, I'd add like seven chords and stuff and I'd write these like things,
Hmm.
but I had no idea about the means of like playing jazz with people and what that means.
Right.
Like
Okay. Yeah.
it was all my own practice. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until I got to Berklee and all of a sudden I'm like jamming for the first time, playing standards with these like unbelievably good young American musicians that have played in high school jazz bands since they're 11 and are just like unreal. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is like what it actually is.
Mm.
I guess it would be like learning to swim by just like reading about it in your room and
Right.
like practicing it in midair and then actually getting in water and
Yeah.
just being
Yeah.
like, oh shit, this is like nothing like what I thought it would be like.
Mm.
So yeah, it was more the actual playing of the jazz but like the interacting with other musicians and how it really is conversational and
Yeah.
how a lot of it, for me at least, relies on finding your own voice and your own input and something that complements everyone else. And you could learn you could learn everything possible in your own time, but then like you could play with a drummer that's just like goes again, like everything it doesn't matter what you've learned on your own, that drummer's gonna like put you in a situation where none of it means anything. And
Right.
then
Okay. Yeah.
and then you have to rely on something, like for me you have to rely on something deeper than just theory, I guess, and just understanding. It's like having a conversation with someone.
Mm. Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's kind of what I learned when I was there, I'd say.
Fantastic. And so you returned from there back to Birmingham, was that?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
was 21. Yeah, I was 21. I did a couple of years there. I dropped out. I did the classic Berklee thing of dropping out. And I came back. I was gonna go back and finish my degree at some point. The financial crash had happened, and stupidly, I kept all the money I had saved. I did like a crap job in a insurance firm for a year before I went and just
Mhm.
saved up loads of money. And I stupidly kept the majority of it in my UK bank account. And then in my second semester in 2008, the financial crash happened. And
Mm.
then the pound went from being like almost $2 to a pound to like what it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like in retrospect, I should have like I was a young kid and even my family were like, don't have all your money there because, like
Yeah.
God knows what you'll do with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ran out of money.
Yeah.
So I came back with the idea of, maybe spending a year or two back in the UK and then going back and finishing. But it never happened because I just ended up busy and playing. I went to the Yardbird. It's like doesn't exist anymore. Maybe you went back in the day.
No, because I was down in London up until
Okay.
2018. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a recent addition to the West Midlands, but yeah, I've heard of Yardbird. Yeah,
Yeah, it's absolutely legendary. I miss it so much. It was like a jewel. It was like the crown jewel of Birmingham's jazz scene. Just like amazing. Everything about it was like perfect. And it was so sad that it got demolished for the redevelopment of that area. It was like compulsory kind of, there's no option. But yeah, I just went there. They used to have a jazz night on a Thursday, and they used to run it in a way where they'd have a house band do a short opening set. Then they'd have two sets from like whoever was on tour, and then they'd have the house band do a long set at the end that also was a jam session.
right.
And I just went there with a friend of mine. I guess like a week after I got back from Berklee, because I was like, I need to play with people, like and yeah, I just went there and like I was chatting to the guys in the house band after their first set, while whoever the main band was on, and then I was like, I had my guitar and I was like, can I get up with you guys? And they were a little bit suspicious because they didn't know who I was, and you get a lot of random chances at jazz jams. You even get it at Ronnie Scott's. I think that's kind of why they stopped doing the like complete open jams for the late show. But then they were like, well, what do you want to play? And then I actually said some standards and they were like, oh, okay, this guy obviously like knows. He's not just like some random idiot. And I got up and played with them and ended up making really good friends with the drummer. And yeah, I just go every week. And then I guess like not too long after, I got to know the guy that owned the Yardbird. And he, on a Friday night, he did a more like funk, jazz, soul night.
Cool. Yeah.
There's break dancers. And one night I was in there just having a drink one day. I'd have only been back for like a couple of months at this point. And he was like, oh yeah, like I've had a cancellation on Friday. And I was like, I'll put a band together. And then we did a load of Yannick Gwizdala's old music. He's a jazz bass player in he's British, but he lives in LA now. But he did this great live album at 55 Bar years ago in New York, and it's like all kind of funk jazz, but very good, but it's like accessible. So I just wrote out all the charts and put a band together, and we did that. And Ollie, who ran the Yardbird, liked it, and then he was like, yeah, I'll get you in like whenever there's a cancellation or whenever there's like a empty spot. And yeah, I just started playing, and then obviously through that I got to know all the jazz guys in Birmingham around the conservatoire. And it really is one of those things that like, people either like your playing or don't like your playing. And if they're not that into it, then they don't book you for their band. It's not that they don't like it. They either like really hear it in their music or they don't.
Yeah.
And fortunately, enough people, I guess, were into what I was doing and how I played. So I ended up playing in some people's recital bands for third and fourth year of the conservatoire, those first 2 years of when I was back. So I kind of saw that as like a continuation of my studies.
Right, okay.
And yeah, I just started playing with like a lot of the people in the Birmingham scene. I met Reuben James in that point. He was a young 16-year-old, 17-year-old or so. And he used to come and stay at my apartment. I had an apartment near the city centre that I lived in with two other musicians. Reuben would come after sixth form and stay on the couch. He'd stay up all night. We'd listen to music all night, and then his parents would ring me the next day being like, where's Reuben? Like, and I'd be like, oh, he's with me, don't worry. And they're like, he's not gone to sixth form. Like, and yeah, and me and him started playing together quite quickly after I'd met him. We got on so well. We're both working class backgrounds, and as you know, in jazz, it's mainly people that study are from, I guess, like a more upper middle class background. It's just the demographics, whereas like me and Reuben are not that. So we kind of had this bond early on. We saw that, we'd had a lot of similar experiences in that sense. And yeah, I just started playing with people, and then odd gig in London. Some people from Birmingham went to London to do masters at like Royal Academy and stuff, and I played with them anyway. So then I ended up playing in their bands. So then I'm in London more, and then people in London start to meet me and know who I am, and it's kind of. And then Reuben moved to London, of course, so that was kind of like that whole thing. I was mainly playing with like musicians in Birmingham though for like a long time in my 20s. I did play in London a fair bit, but I was never really playing in bands of people that were like had been in London forever and like were really part of that scene. I was more like this Midlands guy that would come down and play with people from time to time. So so that's kind of what happened for most of my 20s, I'd say.
Cool. And you've also got into producing as well, haven't you?
For
various artists. Kind of how did that come about?
Again, it's complete chance. It's like so. I have this notion that like I don't really believe in synchronicity, the concepts. It's like the Jungian idea that everything lines up. But then it does seem to weirdly keep happening to me. So I was walking one of my dogs. I think I only had one dog at that point in Birmingham, and I decided I wanted to like do something new at this point. I think I was 29 maybe, or 28. 28, I think, actually. I was a fair bit younger. And Reuben rang me up randomly. He used to tour with Sam Smith, so he'd been like pretty heavy on tour for like most of his early 20s with Sam Smith, the pop star.
Yeah.
He rang me up and he was like, "Are you in Birmingham?" I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "I need to quit this band. Like, I can't do it anymore. I don't want to be a 40-year-old session musician playing with the same guy. I want to do my own music."
Yeah.
He was just like, "Do you know how to produce?" And I knew how to use Logic very basically. Like, and I'm talking basic. I didn't have like a proper interface at my house or anything. I had this little tiny one input thing and no monitors. But I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, "Can I come around later this afternoon? I'm back at my parents. Like, can you like let's start writing my music?" Like, and I was just like, "Yeah, sure." So we wrote that afternoon. We started the session of his song "What a Thing." It's on his first album, and it has Chris Dave on drums, which is my Chris Dave connection. That's where that started. And and then he was like, I went to his parents the next day, and we wrote some more music. I'm like rapidly trying to teach myself Logic better than I knew it. And then he was like, "I'm going on tour next week." And he was like, "In like 2 months, I have a 2-week break in Los Angeles. Like, you should come out and we'll just spend the whole 2 weeks writing more music."
Wow.
And I was like, "You know what? Fuck it. Let's, do it. Let's do it. Why not?" I wanted a change anyway. So I went out there. And Reuben just kept introducing me to all these people, like he'd met some pretty big industry names through Sam Smith, so I landed and went straight to a studio session of a friend of ours called Nate Fox, who did all Chance the Rapper's music early on. Nate's like an incredible producer. And like Reuben's just introducing me as like, "Oh, this is Tom, he's a guitarist and he's producing my music." So it's like this thing of like, shit. Like,
you got the title now.
So I just kind of like ran with it and spent a lot of time teaching myself Logic. a lot of time. And then when I met Chris Dave during that trip, and that's how that connection happened, and we got on well. And then when I got back, I just used to. I don't know if you know that thing that used to happen in Birmingham called neighborhood. It was like a
I've heard
month.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it happens anymore. I think it's
I,
finished, or maybe it
yeah.
does.
I think Tony Dudley Evans does some reviews and stuff on it. I think it was.
Yeah,
I think it's
maybe.
going into last year. I don't know if it's still going this year, but
Yeah. So I used to go to that because it was like another opportunity to meet people outside of jazz jams. And I remember like one week, I'd not long got back from LA, and there was a Swedish singer that was in Birmingham. She was just traveling. She was doing some shows or something in the UK, and she was there. And I spoke to her, and like I just got the guts to be like, she was in Birmingham for a few days. I was like, oh, do you want to come around and do like a writing session?
Mhm.
I was like, I need to be that guy now. So, and I just kept doing that
Yeah,
and started going to London a lot more, like every week. I'd tag along with Reuben on sessions, and then through that, I'd meet new people. And then, some people you get along with, some people you don't. And it just kind of snowballed. And then
yeah,
before I knew it, songs were being released that I'd produced or written. And it was just kind of like I just kind of fell into it. But I do see music as just one thing, and like to me, it's like learning to produce was not really like it was just almost like another part of the puzzle of
mm,
being a musician,
yeah. That makes
Um,
sense.
it's like it was good. It was quite liberating. It helped me with my own music as well. All of a sudden, I no longer had to do like Tom Ford Quartet like I used to and
Right.
write
Okay.
all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
charts out and rehearse them. Now it's like, well, I could just do everything on the computer, play as much of it myself, and then like, it was an easier way to like have a vision of something and make at least a blueprint of that
Right.
vision.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of how that happened. Um, I have slowed down a little bit on it um, in the last year or so, partly just because like I know the music industry quite well now,
Right.
and like it's just as bad as you'd expect and worse in terms of like the internal movings of it. And I just like, you know, I'm not I'm not that bothered to like play the game, so to speak. It's quite disheartening at times. And I'd say like a lot of good music exists on hard drives that not just I've done, that many people have done that we'll never hear. And
Yeah.
it's because like there's this point where there's an unnecessary input from like labels and stuff. They work essentially as like this weird middleman service. But they have a lot of money, so they can kind of like coerce people to work
Yeah.
with them. But yeah, you end up at the whim of people often, and I just kind of got bored of, making stuff I was really happy with and proud of that's like never gonna see the light of day. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of a lot more selective now and a lot
Mm.
more, you know, um, I still do it and I still work with people, but not as much. I don't travel to London to do studio sessions every week anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Cool. So, and are you down in the Isle of Wight now? Based
yes,
down there because you moved. Yeah, you moved away a couple of years ago now, wasn't it?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will be moving back to the mainland next year.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, had enough.
Enough of the island.
Yeah.
Is that musically or
Just
just
travel wise, I travel a lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I play a lot. I just did a long tour I've been on tour with this young guy called Geordie Greep, a phenomenal musician. He's not jazz as such. He's a rock guy. Very successful at the moment. So I've had the luxury of doing like a big proper tour with a massive tour bus and like, you know, big amps and huge stages and playing big festivals in Europe, and um, but because I travel a lot, it's like that extra leg of getting the boat, and when things don't quite line up or trains are slightly delayed, it's just got to the point where I'm not the benefits aren't outweighing the negatives, so.
Yeah.
And also I'd kind of like to be within an hour or so of London, just because I'm there so much.
Yeah.
But there's the Isle of Wight's great, and it has a great little jazz scene, and there's some great. I've been like so fortunate that there's some really good musicians down here. There are some like great players. I did a trio record actually with two guys that live here, which will come out soon. I hope I'm mixing it myself, and we did it in January, and I basically got to a point, and I just need to make like final changes to the mix, and that was in March, and then I basically went away. I've been away since, I've kind of been so busy. But yeah, it's a great trio record. It's like a jazz guitar trio thing, upright bass and drums. So that will be out at some point.
Cool. So going back to when you came and played for us last time, or for the first time,
yes,
in 2022, you just released a Tennis Champion, or earlier that year, I think, didn't you?
I had, and that's the first record.
Yeah, I just remember Love You as I was going into walking in the second day, because that was mostly Jazz Funk and Soul festival that you played at that year. And it was a glorious sunny weekend. The one the next year, it was washed out. It's flooded. I just remember that. It was on the CD that they give you when you when you get in there. And I was playing it on the second day that I was going in there, and that's a tune that's just always now reminds me of summer.
Nice,
right here,
nice.
Walking into Moseley Park on a sunny Saturday morning, or lunchtime, or whenever it was. So that was 2022. I think you did a return of the tennis champions with a whole bunch of other people along the way. Also had a really interesting project I've seen. I think you've only done a couple of gigs with the Holdsworth project.
Oh yeah.
Tell us a bit about that. It's a big influence on yourself.
Yeah, he's huge influence, probably one of the biggest. He's one of the few guys I saw when I was younger. I actually saw play before I went to Berklee. He was one of the actual gigs that I went to watch. I was that into him. That just came about. I've been playing a lot with this young London band called Nats. Okay. I've played on their first album. They just finished recording their second album, which I played on as well. And I've frequently joined them from time to time live. So either as
they're from Newcastle originally.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I've joined them live. They normally play with trumpet and saxophone, but often if one of those two guys can't make it, then I've jumped on the gig. And Stan and King, the two guys from Newcastle, I've got to know them really well, and they're both really big Holdsworth fans as well. And they're studying at Trinity. They're in their final year at Trinity in London. And last year, Stan was just like, they do these Monday night gigs at the Student Union in Trinity. It was just like, we should do like a Holdsworth one, if you're up for it. He was like, there's no money, but like it would be cool. And I was just like, I looked at when I'd be in London. I was like, I'm going to be there anyway and free on this Monday. So he booked it because I was like, why not? I've never played his music before. No one really does, People play the odd tune. Like obviously I'd played Fred before. It's like that's a bit of a fusion jam session classic. But like his real like deep music, like no one really gets into it and performs it that often. There's a few things, but it's not like super common, you know, like
Yeah.
and
Like you say, you'll get a couple of tracks sometimes in a set of a band that we've
yeah,
had come up, but yeah, to do a whole set.
yeah,
Amazing.
and yeah, I just thought it was a good opportunity. And then, you know, Anatole, the accordion player, he is also very into Holdsworth, and you know, it just made sense. He was up to get him involved. And then I booked that Cherry Reds gig.
Mm.
Well, I had it. I think I had it in the diary anyway. I just booked it anyway as like I'll go up and do some kind of jazz gig
Right.
in
Yeah.
Birmingham. I'm not sure. I wasn't going to do my band. I was going to do something more suitable. And I was like, well, I've got this gig at Cherry Reds. Like, let's do it at that as well. And yeah, it was just super fun. It was super fun to learn that stuff. We're actually playing in Germany just before the Mars Bar gig
Oh,
at a
cool.
festival in Dortmund. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's going to happen once in a while. You know,
Mm.
it's not going to happen. Um, but I don't think there's that much appetite for his music for it to be a weekly steady gig.
It would definitely go down well at the Mars bar. We'd definitely be interested in
Yeah, we'll
that.
make it happen at some
We'll make it.
point.
Yeah, indeed.
Um, but yeah,
Is it?
Anatole is currently stuck in Switzerland doing national service.
Yeah, it's funny because
Um,
I've not come across him before. And then since then, he did a gig at the Hare and Hounds.
oh yeah, he did on his tour.
So I went along to that, and also, so I've got Zeniel. I don't know if you know that band from,
Zanel, yeah,
yeah,
or
they're
Zen,
coming
yeah.
up next week,
Uh-huh.
all being well, and they, yeah, they've got. I think they've recorded one with him as well
Nice,
on their
nice.
latest EP. So, it's someone I've not come across before, and obviously the most remarkable thing there is his MIDI accordion thing
MIDI,
I've
yeah,
never seen. Yeah.
his breathalyzer, as we call it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love that people. My brother used to be into electronics, well, probably still is, and audio. And he used to when we was in our teens, he always making these funny electronic instruments. He sort of
nice, nice.
so I love seeing those kind of homemade.
Yeah, some guy made him that thing. Um, yeah, it's a one-off.
Yeah,
He plays laptop sometimes.
yeah. I've seen.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
has somebody's made a program that turns a laptop into a MIDI keyboard.
yeah.
But yeah, he's great. He's super great, and he like knows that music. I think that's the main thing with the Holdsworth stuff is it's finding people that really know it. You
Mm,
know, that know it. It's not like it's kind of weird music. It's very idiosyncratic, and it has lots of things that like are quite illogical from like a more traditional jazz standpoint. There's strange things in the forms, and there's um, strange choices with the chord changes at times. Like it it doesn't have that. I don't think he was ever influenced enough or like bothered enough by like what other people did.
hmm.
So it really is just his
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
But yeah, it's super good fun to play, and like, you know, it's definitely um it's definitely been good for me to like finally learn his music properly and play it. You know,
Mm,
seeing as he's been like this big influence, but I kind of always had him as an influence of just like the vibe of him. I never
right.
sat down and worked out anything he
What he
was
was doing,
doing.
yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of like loved the vibe. Whereas now it's like I kind of have like a much deeper understanding of what he was up to. But I've always had people come up to me and tell me that they hear Holdsworth in my playing even before that band.
Right. Okay.
Like there's been a really um, common like comparison that I've had for years and years and years. Like I guess again, like the vibe is that the vibe's similar, you know,
Right.
like so there's forever been like a comparison, which I'll take 100%, you know, massive compliment for me.
Indeed. Cool. So, yeah, just talk us through the band that you'll be coming up with in a couple of weeks.
Yes, so I have Nathan on drums, who was there last time.
Yeah,
Um,
Nathan
he's
Shingler.
yes, he's pretty, and he'll have just been in Germany. He's doing the Holdsworth gig in Germany because,
Oh, cool.
yeah, um,
Kings.
like it's kind of like this revolving door of musicians. But Nathan is someone, I've played with him so much, and he's been there literally since the start. I used to have Jazz Kaiser before, but then,
Oh, right.
you know, um, Jazz is very busy doing Lenny Kravitz and
Indeed.
all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's this weird incestuous thing. I've played in Jazz's band instead of Jamie. I've done some of her
Right.
tours when Jamie's been busy with Alchemist, and Nathan obviously plays with
Yeah.
Alchemist sometimes. So does Jazz when Spaven. It's just, but yeah, I've got Nathan. He's great. I have Stan from Nats on bass. We're just playing together a lot at the moment. He's very uh he's a great bass player, but like, normally I've opted for more um kind of groove based or pocket based, like I play with Daisy still, and
Yeah.
like, I kind of like that approach of bass, where Stan is like shred like
Okay.
million notes a second kind of guy. As well, he could play, like he could groove, but
Yeah.
he really shreds when he wants to. But I'm into it. And we've been playing a lot, so much over the past year. And then I have the old face of Simon Jr.
Hmm.
Coming back. For the first time in like the last time we played was in Brighton at Great Escape, which would have been 2023.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
but
because
yeah,
I think Simon was due on the first
yeah,
gig we played, wasn't he? He couldn't make
yeah,
it
he was
last minute,
sick.
so
He was sick. I
we had
think
a
he had
last
COVID or
last minute
something.
with Taju, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's in London now, super
Yeah,
busy.
yeah. He's
But yeah, it's going to be Simon again, which is nice. Simon's like he's a very rare vocalist in that like he sings, he raps, he speaks several languages fluently. He's like, and also he's one of the few people I know that can interact with a band as a vocalist and like not never get lost or never. He has like a sense of form. Like
right. Okay.
normally
Yeah.
with vocalists, you kind of have to give them a nod and be
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
want to sing again now.
Yeah.
Whereas with him, he's always had this like deeper sense of like where the music is at some point. And he's never been like thrown off by like long improvisational moments to be like he's like sometimes, and this isn't all vocalists, but like sometimes I think vocalists have a disconnect from musicians in that they see themselves as a vocalist and a musician
Right.
sees themselves as a musician.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
like
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
he's one of the few people that doesn't. And he's got like thousands of flight hours on stage, like he's really cut his chops on like the live music scene. He still gigs a lot, but like he's got a lot of experience on stage. So it's super easy to perform with him. Um, I was, and I still do. I've been playing with an American chap called Chase, from Chicago, who is great as well. We ended up playing live together, just because we wrote a load of music together. He's on a lot of my newer music. I
Mm.
kind of liked that American sound that he brought to it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just you know, it's one of those. I like to change things up. I get really,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
That's
just wanted
good.
to play with Simon again.
Yeah.
I just was just like kind of in the mood to, um, as I said, I'm in this transitional period, music wise, and I think a lot of my old kind of music I'm kind of leaving behind. So in some ways, this could be the last show of a lot of that music
Ah,
ever.
there we go.
So yeah, could
You heard
be
it
the
here.
last. Yeah, could be the last show of like, Love You and all that kind of music. So it kind of feels right to do it with Simon. He was there at the start.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah,
excellent. And
that's
then we
the
got
band.
Christos
Yeah, on trumpet.
on.
Who's great, who plays with jazz, and you've
Yeah,
had him
yeah, he
before.
was
Yeah,
up in January
yeah,
with jazz.
yeah, he's great.
Fantastic. So yeah, really excited to have you back and hear some of those older tunes and hopefully some new stuff as well.
Oh yeah, there'll be plenty of new stuff.
Plenty of
There'll be
new
a
stuff.
lot of Yeah, there'll be a lot of new stuff.
New recordings coming out.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of the remnants of like the stuff I've been releasing over the past year, which I was going to do as an album, but I chose just to release as like singles now. I have like one coming out at the end of September, and it has Fundo Art, the rapper, on it, and it has another vocalist, a woman called Chica. She's great, and it has Frederico Heliodoro, the Brazilian bass player,
Oh, right, yeah, yeah.
and Reuben James on it as well. So it's like another one of these kind of star-packed casts, like
Fantastic.
all-star cast. And then yeah, there's a few others coming out towards the end of the year, and then next year I'll be looking at releasing essentially an album of the new music I'm doing, which is all trio. It's just guitar, bass, and drums, no vocals,
Hmm.
all instrumental, and is yeah, it's jazz, but it's a bit rockier. It's quite loud.
Good.
Um, it's it's still definitely jazz, loads of improv and like stuff, but yeah, just kind of trying something new out. It's time to shift focus.
Excellent. No, it's good, and yeah, having a band back as I was chatting before the interview, I haven't been booking bands that have come along. Because there's loads to get through already.
Yeah,
There's plenty of other bands that I really want to get on the program, but it's yeah, I've kind of seen what the project I started was more about introducing people to something new, and then
yeah,
you go and follow that, and I'll carry on finding new stuff to,
nice.
to dig out. So it's good if we're getting people back that they're doing something different
Yeah,
and seeing where it all goes, because that's yeah, no one wants to stand still.
no, absolutely not.
Fantastic. Well, really excited to have you back in a couple of weeks. That's on Thursday the 25th. I'm not sure when this recording will be going out, but yeah, Thursday the 25th of September
Nice,
in Worcester. So
absolutely.
then, thanks so much for your time today, Tom. It's been great to have
Yeah,
you.
thanks, Dave. Nice one.